welcome to Sarah's Stamping Retreat. Today we're going to be creating some really cute cards with loads of different card making techniques using some of the Spellbinders clubs for November. And there's some really lovely things this month that I'll show you as we go along. So for this first card, I want to start off with an embossing technique. So I've got a 3x4¼ inch piece of this pink sand cardstock from Spellbinders. And I'm going to use this Spellbinders embossing folder of the month. It's kind of hard to see on here, but it's kind of like a confetti type of pattern. You'll see it better when I've embossed it. And I'm going to ink up my embossing folder with my Kitsch Flamingo ink. So I'm going to add that to my brayer first, and then I can just add that to the front of my embossing folder. So that's the bit with the Spellbinders on it. And then I'm going to run that through my die cutting machine. And then you can see we've got this really pretty pink embossed panel where the pattern that shows up really nicely because there's the deeper pink in the background. So then I've used the small die of the month to die cut this cute little tortoise. So let's put that together. So then the first thing I'm going to do is just cut a little bit of white cardstock to go behind his eyes. And then I'm going to draw him in some pupils. And then I'm just going to add on the shell. So I've cut the shell in green and yellow. That's just in 2 parts. And these are dead easy to put together. There's not like tons of pieces to them. And I can add on his little cheeks. And I'll do that with a little pick-up pencil to make it easier. This little pick-up pencil from Sticks 2 is so easy to use and so inexpensive as well. And then there's his little hat. So then for the sentiment, I'm going to use this Stamp and Die of the Month set. So it's a really useful sentiment stamp set, and you get a die for all of the sentiments as well. I'm not actually going to use the dies for this card. We're going to have a sentiment strip instead. But I do love to have coordinating sentiments with my dies. It's so useful. So you can see I seem to have misplaced my happy birthday, but you get all the sentiment dies. I'm going to use that happy birthday sentiment. So I'm just going to heat emboss that across the bottom of this green cardstock. And I'll heat emboss that in white. So then I've got a 4¼ by 5½ inch card blank made from waterfall cardstock. Then this layer is 3¼ by 4½ inches. And that's fruit punch cardstock, and then we've got our embossed layer, so I'm just going to layer those up. And then I'm going to lay foam pads behind my sentiment and behind my tortoise. And then there's that one finished. I think it's really cute. So then I'm going to grab my diamond press grip mat. I really love this thing. And I'm going to add on a card blank. So that's a 4¼ by 5½ inch card blank. And then I'm going to grab the stencil of the month. So this is a layering stencil, and it's made up of loads of different kind of squares and rectangles. And you could use as many or as few of these as you want. I'm not sure how many I want to use yet. So I'm going to start off with a couple and kind of let it build and see how many I end up feeling like I want. So the beauty of this mat is that I can then just press this down on the edges and it holds it in place for me. Although actually, to be fair, there's not quite enough excess on the edges of this to do a really good job. So I'm just going to hold it down as we go as well. So I'm going to do the first couple of layers on this one in fairly light colours. So I'm using Sponge Sugar Distress Oxide ink for this first layer. And I'm going to lay on the second one. And with this one, I'll go in with Salvage Patina. You'll notice that even though my stencil isn't quite big enough to be held down firmly, the grip mat's actually helping me anyway because it's holding my ink pad in place, which means I can hold my fingers in the same place and hold my stencil down, making sure it doesn't slip without having to worry about my ink pad sliding around all over the place, so I can actually ink up my brush with one hand. So you can see that pattern starting to build up. So then I'm going to go into some brighter colours. So I'm going to brave this yellow for this, so it is quite bright. And actually that looks quite fun. I was worried it'd be too bright, but I quite like it. And then I'm just going to go in with some darker shades of the first two colours. So I'm going to go in with Kitsch Flamingo for this one. And I'm using these stencils in a really random order, by the way. I don't think there's supposed to be any order to use them in. They're not numbered as far as I can see. And then for this last layer, I'll use some peacock feathers. So then we've got this really fun background. And like I said, you could have stopped at any point. You could have just a couple of those layers, but I ended up using all 5. So then we've got our little sloth. And this is the other little character from the Die of the Month. I think they might even call it Small Day of the Month. That always confuses me because it's not really very small, there's loads in it. So I've just put some dark grey on the back of him and put some white on the front. And then I can pop on some little cheeks. And the places where the cheeks go are embossed, so you know exactly where to put them. And then the balloon die cuts 3 balloons at a time, so I've cut it in pink, yellow and green. So then I'm just going to glue the balloons onto there. And you could put it straight on like that, but you can see that the colours kind of blend into the background a little bit. So I've just cut a piece of vellum that's an inch smaller than my card front, and I'll put this onto that and you can see it pops more then. So I'll glue the balloons and the sloth onto the vellum, and then I can glue the sloth on, and then I'm going to glue the vellum behind the sloth and the balloons, and then also I'll just pop a little bit along the bottom as well because I'm going to put the sentiment along the bottom. And this Birthday Bliss banner I've cut out with the 2 dies from that Small Day of the Month. There's a die that cuts out the banner, and so you could just have the banner, and then there's another piece that goes in that kind of embosses that Birthday Bliss in if you want that as well. So then how cute is that? So then for this last card, I'm going to use some more kits, but one of them is going to be the Wax Seal of the Month kit. So the Wax Seal of the Month is this Happy Birthday to You, so I'm going to use that as my sentiment for this card. And it also comes with this coral mix of wax beads, which I really love. I've been using a lot of these kind of dusky pink colours recently, so I'll use those loads, but they don't really go with today's card. So I think I'm going to be using some of these pink ones from in this pink colour mix here. I think this was from a few months ago actually. But although you get the wax beads in the kits, you can get those on the website as well. I just really like that with the kits it means that I get a new colour each month. So I've really built up my colours of wax beads. I'm going to pop that on there. I'll pop on my little spoon. And I think I kind of want to use this pink. I don't have the exact pink, that one's quite close. I think I'll use that pink. Maybe I'll try adding in 4 of those and 1 of that lighter pink and see what I come up with. By the way, all these things here are from the Wax Seal starter kit from Spellbinders. And you also get some gold wax beads and a wax seal in there as well. So I'll link all of these things below. And while that melts, just let me tell you as well that if you're loving this month's clubs, you can just sign up for 1 month. You can cancel after that month if you want to. So you've got that option if you don't really want a kit every month. It is cheaper to buy the kits in the month that they're kits. They are available after the month's over as kind of like past kits, but they are more expensive then. And the other thing is that if there's quite a few that you like, then you might want to look at the Deluxe Caboodle. I'll link that below as well. And in the Deluxe Caboodle, you not only get all 10 of the month's kits, but you also get a free gift, and it's $120 from the US website or £120 from the UK website, and that is cheaper than buying the most expensive 5 kits. So if you're getting a few, it is worth considering. Basically, you're getting 5 free kits plus a gift, so it's really good value for money. So I'm just trying to swirl that around a bit so that it kind of mixes in a little. And then I'm going to grab my wax seal, I'm going to pour this out, and then I'm going to pop this in. And then to clean your spoon, just grab some kitchen roll and clean that out. Obviously you don't want to be touching the actual spoon itself, it's really hot, so be careful of that. You see it comes out really nicely. It's much easier to do it like that when it's hot than to wait until afterwards, in my opinion. So we've got our stamp, and I'm just going to grab my gold pen and just colour over the top of the text, just to make that stand out. So then for this month, the stitching day of the month is this set of frames. Well, you could do all sorts of stitches on these frames. I'm going to do cross stitch. I'm going to do that in yellow thread. So I'm just splitting that out to create 2 strands. And then I'm going to thread that on. So then I just like to tape my thread to the back because no one's going to see it and I find it easier. So then I'm going to go along. There's actually the crisscrosses for the embroidery embossed onto the frame, so you can see exactly where to go. So I think traditionally you go up and do all the ones this way and then go back, but I'm just going to go along like this just to show you a few stitches because you don't want to watch me do all of this. So it's nice to make sure that the ones on the bottom go in one direction and the ones in the top go in the other direction. So you can see all my ones on the bottom are going this way and all the ones on the top are going the opposite way. So I'm going to do that all the way around my frame and then I'll come back. So now we've got this fun stitched frame, and I think I'm actually just going to pop some foam strips behind this to pop it up a bit. And then I'm going to add that to a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch waterfall card blank. And then I've got some of these balloons, so I'm going to add some onto here. And then I want to fill this out a bit, so I'm going to add a couple behind these balloons as well. Then I'll add some foam pads behind my balloons. And I'm going to add a bit of glue behind the strings. And then I'll grab one of these little stickers. These are the wax seal stamp adhesive circles. And I like to use these. I don't like to add my wax seal directly to a project because if it goes wrong then you've ruined your project. So I like to add these to the back, and then you can add them to your project or add them to an envelope or whatever you want to do with them. Just whenever you need them you can make them in advance. So I'm going to add this down here. And I think that looks really cute. So there are our 3 cards for today. I really hope that you enjoyed creating them with me. Let me know which is your favourite in the comments below. I really hope that you've enjoyed today's video. If you did, I really appreciate you clicking like below, and you can also press subscribe if you'd like to see future videos. If you press the bell button and select all, then YouTube will also notify you when I've got a new video available. All of the products that I've used for today's cards are listed in the description below, and there's also a link there to my blog where you can find a picture supply list if that helps you find what you're looking for. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope to see you again soon.